Tattoos are created by inserting colored ink beneath the skin surface. The history of ink began over 5,000 years ago. The word tattoo is said to come from ta, a Polynesian word which means to strike something. Tattoos have always been a controversial subject, and what I want to know is, are tattoos acceptable in the workplace in Nova Scotia? Tattoos are considered to be alterable, mutable characteristics of a human. This means people with tattoos do not automatically receive any special legal protection. Discrimination in employment decisions based on tattoos is not illegal unless a person is a member of a protected class. Brad Wynot is a career counselor in Liverpool, Nova Scotia. He works one-on-one with individuals who are looking to be hired. He says people with tattoos need to do research about the potential employer and/or the company before going into a job interview.
The first impression is very important. So you have to, in my opinion, do the research, where you're going, what the work atmosphere is like. Do they accept tattoos, do they not? First impressions go a long way, so I would abide by the game, so to speak, and not necessarily cover them up, but again, it's the research is the key of where you're going to go.
Body art has always been looked at with a critical eye when it comes to job interviews. Why is this? In many cases, people will cover up their tattoos with long clothing so the employer doesn't have a reason not to hire them. In certain cases, people will even use tattoo cover-up makeup in a job interview. Cover-up makeup starts around $20 a tube. Nick Seelig is a graphic design student who has been getting tattoos since he was 18. He used the makeup.
I picked it up and I originally got it as I'll wear it to job interviews and if I really want the job and they make a big deal out of it, I'll wear it every day because it's the equivalent, you might as well say, of a woman wearing makeup. Like you can't tell unless you're like right there.
But covering up his tattoos didn't sit well with Seelig. He decided he would rather show off his tattoos and deal with the consequences. And with the majority of his upper body covered in art, he had to accept that this could really change his job prospects.
With the restaurant, if I wouldn't have had tattoos, visible tattoos, I probably would have had the opportunity to work up front with people because he liked that I was well spoken and easy to get along with and stuff. But I ended up working in the kitchen because people aren't fond of people, serving them food that has tattoos.
Seelig says it shouldn't matter if you have tattoos or not, but he understands there's a bad stigma associated with tattooed individuals.
Because in all reality, we all know that it doesn't change the characteristics of a person, the morals of a person. Having, a layer of ink embedded in your skin doesn't change your ability to do anything so there's definitely a stigma that's surrounding it that probably came from the media and came from gangs.
The majority of employers still say no to tattoos, but some just say no to visible ones. A Harris Poll study conducted in 2010 found employers say no to tattoos because they are not professional, the negative stigma of being associated with criminal activity, they are distracting, and will cause a disruption. For Sin-On Skin tattoo artist Aldrich Murphy, he says a lot of professional people come into their shop to get tattoos, visible pieces of art and non-visible ones.
Some of the police officers, full sleeves and stuff like that. Usually find doctors and lawyers tend to keep them a little bit hidden away. And, you see them at the beach and it's like, wow, didn't know you had that.
He says so many people have tattoos now that employers should just accept them.
And if you start while you're tattooed, you're going to really be hard pressed to find somebody to fill your positions at your place of employment. So. And as long as it's not on your face and stuff like that, then it should be fine.
Fabian O'Brien may not look like a typical professional, but he's the manager of Admiral Insurance in Halifax. He got his first tattoo 17 years ago.
It becomes an extension of who you are. Without sounding pretentious about it, not every tattoo has a story. Sometimes, I like tattoos for the artwork, for what they are, and but definitely a form of expression. It totally is artwork.
Fabian doesn't know how many tattoos he has. He says at the beginning he was very conscious of what he got and where he put them.
I didn't see myself as staying working in retail in a record store forever at all. So I always, in the back of my head was, watch yourself, don't go crazy, make sure you can cover it up, you don't want to screw yourself over for any jobs in the future.
Covering tattoos for interviews can be challenging for some full-sleeved individuals, but Fabian found a way. He says you have to play by the employer's rule and always look your best.
Shirt and tie, dress pants, dress shoes, very polite, very, it's funny because in interviews I'm very conservative as far as I look. Because you have to be, you have to play that game, that's part of the game, you know. Every interview I've gone to, I've dressed appropriately. Even if the tattoos show, you know, you see my hand tattoos, I'm still dressed nicely because that's the role you have to play.
With 20 professional shops in the HRM, tattoos have become a large business. But with the good comes the bad. Tattoos are being associated with criminals, inmates, gangs, and the unintelligent. For mother and retired business owner Ali Rankin, she understands the association.
I grew up in a little village in Scotland, and there was the two gangs, and they'd be, at that time it was, what was it? I forget, but they had their shaven heads, and it was the mods and something else, I can't remember, but it was a case of, stay back from us, it was the shaved head. So then the tattoos came into that too. So it kind of went in line with that image of stand back, we don't care what you think, we're going to do what we want to do. So there was a criminal element.
Rankin remembers how she felt when her son showed off his first tattoo.
It is a whole new era, a whole new thing, and maybe I'm still dated. But I did. My initial reaction was that he has closed the door to some professions. It didn't hurt him getting jobs in the food industry, which I thought for sure would, you know, customer service and all that stuff.
Nick Selig understands the affiliation of criminals and tattoos because of the history of different gang members around the world.
Especially, you know, what people see of, you know, things like the Mexican drug cartel and stuff like that. Who else? The Aryan Brotherhood, you know, things like that. Those were people and gangs that tattooed their faces, tattooed their necks, their hands, and in some cases their entire bodies. And even like Japanese, I don't know the name of them, but Japanese gangs and their mafia had specific tattoos and large tattoos. So I have a feeling that a lot of it stemmed from a gang thing.
Tattoo artist Aldrich Murphy says it's not gang affiliation anymore.
I think back in the day, it was more associated with that, but nowadays, you know, we get doctors and lawyers and a lot of police come through the doors, so I don't think it really has that attachment to it anymore.
Career counselor Brad Wynot understands why some people see tattoos as unprofessional. Even though he is open-minded, he says labels still jump in his mind.
Unfortunately, when I see people with, you know, tattooed from full sleeves and neck tattoos, even though I'm very open-minded, I have tattoos myself, it's just, a picture is created in somebody's mind.
Retired business owner and mom, Ali Rankin, says there's been an evolution in the world for tattoos. She says they are being more easily accepted into the workplace and in society in general. And despite her old negative impressions of them, she even hired a tattooed salesperson.
Who ended up having tattoos, I didn't know. Loved her, great salesperson. Customers loved it, and I never heard once anything from a client.
And statistics show tattoos have come a long way in recent years. A 2003 Harris poll in the United States says 15% of women have tattoos, 16% of males, and 31% of lesbian, gay, and transgendered people. 10 years later, people like Fabian O'Brien are using tattoos as a way to express their story, and a way to modify themselves into a unique being.
I think I probably wouldn't stand out in a crowd. Tattoos, they're right out there. If you scan a room, people look, no matter how they're dressed, people look the same. It's only when you start to modify yourself that you stand out.
Still, in that same Harris poll, 28% of non-tattooed people believe tattooed people will engage in deviant behavior. Only 12% of the tattoo population believe this. Aldrich Murphy from Sin on Skin Tattoos doesn't think there should be a relationship between tattoos and deviant behavior. He says not everyone with tattoos can be grouped into one category of deviant individuals.
Same with crime. When you're young, you do stupid stuff. Sometimes you get pinched, sometimes not, but I mean, it doesn't matter. I've been good, and I'm covered, so.
A study by Ledger Marketing showed in 2002 more than 1/3 of Canadians between 18 and 34 had a tattoo. And according to Stats Canada, the majority of eligible Canadian voters in the 2012 census will have a tattoo. That stat was then confirmed this year. So what does the future hold for tattoos and employment? With the growing interest in the artwork, will there ever be such thing as tattoo acceptance in the workplace? Many people say it will change with the generations.
Eventually it should change as generations, as they get out of the workplace and newer generations comes in. But it's very unfortunate that people are being discriminated against due to tattoos and or piercings, who they could be the perfect person for the job. But just from that first impression, they don't get that opportunity because the labels of tattoos.
The new generation becomes, like, everyone who's our age becomes older and middle age. That the mindset around that, a lot of it is going to fade out. So I think that it's already getting more acceptable. And I think it's moving forward rather than backwards. And that's my experience with it.
And it could ultimately come down to necessity. Aldrich Murphy at Sin on Skin Tattoos says if everyone has them, employers just won't be able to afford not to hire someone because of them.
They're going to have to, because it's really hard to find somebody that doesn't have at least one. So I think it's going to be more accepted in the workplace.
In Halifax, I'm Molly Gibson Kirby.